Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout, reaching you from our new studios here at Atlantic City, Victoria Island, Lagos. I am Benga Oreshegun. Today on the program, Senator Abaribe is confident that President Tinubu will free Nnamdi Kanu, vows to stand as guarantor. Governor Sule says withdrawal of tax reform bills is no longer necessary, credits President Tinubu, and Oyedele with dousing concerns. And later on the show, Governor Makinde vows that culprits of Ibadan Stampede must face trial. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Chris Kendi Nwadu. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. The end appears to be in sight regarding the legal woes of the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, this time. The senator representing Abia South, Yinaya Abaribe, is optimistic that President Bola Tinubu will release Kanu. Senator Abaribe described President Tinubu as a listening leader, saying the president will do the needful to address the criminal activities in the southeast. He hoped the president will heed the advice of the Attorney General of the Federation and others who have called for the release of the IPOB leader. The senator also vowed to stand as guarantor for the detained Kanu. Now, BKO, Senator Abaribe is optimistic, he's confident, but your thoughts on this? Do you share the same optimism?
To an extent, yes. To an extent, yes. And I recall that President Tinubu, during his campaigns in the southeast, said he was prepared to dialogue with some of the people causing the problems in the southeast. He said he was prepared to dialogue with the agitators. I still remember that day when he made that promise during one of his campaigns. So I believe that the situation could warrant the president taking that decision. Many people would not want to see the president do that because of what Kanu had done in the past, and some of his supporters had deliberately even targeted the president. There's no name that they've not called the president. But the president is a father for everyone, and is someone who does his best to make friends, cutting across political and even ethnic divides. So I won't be surprised if the president feels that, well, at this point, Kanu is remorseful enough to be allowed to go. You see, the case is in court, no doubt about it, but we know that political solutions are sometimes, or most times, even better than trying to resolve issues through the courts. And I've given examples in the past. The Encounter Freedom Party and supporters of Encounter Freedom Party in South Africa and supporters of ANC, they were killing themselves. What was then known as black-on-black violence. You see somebody being slaughtered in public. Once they grab their adversary, they will then begin to slaughter the person. In the end, they came to a round table, and a power-sharing module was instituted, whereby Buthelezi became a vice president. And the killing stopped instantly. Instantly. We are students of history. We know that big issues are often resolved through a round table. Even Ukraine and Russia that are involved in a senseless war, they can bring them together to achieve peace. How many people believe that Israel and Egypt could ever even have diplomatic relations? In those days when the Arabs and the Israelis were always fighting, Egypt was the major country in the Arab world that Israel had to contend with militarily. You know? And Israel even seized some, Israel had to give up land that is seized from Egypt.
Are you talking about the Yom Kippur War?
No, the Yom Kippur War is different.
It's different. Okay.
It's just one of the many wars.
One of the many.
Yes.
Okay.
The Six-Day War. What I'm saying is, over time, Egypt, remember Gamal Abdel Nasser, the Egyptian leader, he was a hero in the whole of the Arab world because of the way he confronted Israel. So I'm saying that at the end of the day, if they told you that Israel and Egypt could ever make peace, you would argue. But today, they made peace. And Israel had to give up land that it had seized from Egypt. Interestingly, the piece of land that is seized even had, what was it called? Had hydrocarbon, had oil deposits.
Okay, oil deposits, okay.
Yes. So, for them to have given that up in exchange for peace, that's to tell you that no sacrifice is too big to make for peace. Nnamdi Kanu, in the last 1 year, has changed.
Yeah, looking at some of the things he said. Yeah.
Yes, and he agreed before the death of the late Ifeanyi Uba.
Okay.
They went to see him. Ifeanyi Uba, Eze Chukwuemeka Eri, and Senator Abaribe, they went to see him in detention. And he agreed with them that from now on, no more sit at home. He even wrote it in his own hand.
Yes, he did.
So that people won't say, oh, he made a pronouncement that they didn't hear. Huh? Today, no more sit at home. But cultists and other outlaws who had hijacked the whole struggle, they are still enforcing the sit at home. The Simon Ekpas of this world, they are still enforcing.
Because what you're saying is the release of Nnamdi Kanu can bring stability to the Southeast. Does he still have that capital?
I think so, because you see, the point is, those who are saying, those who are causing problems, they are saying they are doing it because of him. If we now release him, would they still be doing sit at home, for example? On what basis would we?
So there will be no reason for this.
Yes, because the whole thing was anchored on his incarceration. And that's why Abaribe said, what we now know in the Southeast is that criminals and all other people who advocate violence have taken over and are using the name of Nnamdi Kanu to perpetrate all these despicable acts.
Okay.
So if you are using his name and the man
has now
is
been
released, for example, what reason would you cite? And Kanu will not hold his hand and what people continue to use his name, tarnish his name by resorting to violence. He's going to get his own people to also resist some of those negative things. So, in the interest of the economy of the Southeast,
exactly,
I think that this issue has to be looked at. But as I've always said, it cannot be released without preconditions.
Okay.
Yes, you have to agree that no more armed struggle against the Nigerian state. There are conditions that I'm sure even if the president were to take this decision, he will agree to. Even Kanu himself has said this, that he's even prepared
to give up the armed struggle.
Is he prepared for whatever condition?
Okay, whatever condition.
There was a time he even suggested, okay, you can even put me under house arrest as a start. You know, so I believe that this is something that should be considered. And if they are giving conditions and he agrees to those conditions, why not? Why not release him? Why not release him?
CK, let me bring you here. The release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. PK has said that it can bring stability to the Southeast. What are your thoughts here?
To a large extent, I've always said it, just as BK said. I'm of the school of thought, and so many people within my own thought also believe that what we need now is a political solution, not a legal solution.
Not a legal solution?
No. What we need is a political solution because Nnamdi Kanu has shown capacity in his utterances in the past few years that he's ready for dialogue, unlike the hard-end stance that he had in the past. And his utterances then was more combative than it is now. And so, for me, we can always find that solution. And if the government is ready for such dialogue, and I think it's a way to go. That's one. Secondly, he talked about some other climes where you had dialogue to be able to settle it. If you remember in the year past, the crazy problem that bedeviled Northern Ireland, I'm sure BK remember vividly. Northern Ireland, that is the United Kingdom, was a theater of war. And that one was even about Christians, the Catholics and the Protestants. It was a major war that people were killing themselves, is it the fields or whatever they call them then? It was a serious problem. But after several years, both of them laid their hands, came together at a round table, and had a dialogue. And all these issues were resolved. And in the past, you also look at it from the point that Bianca Ojukwu, who is the current Minister of State, Foreign Affairs, if you listen to what she said when she was appointed, she said that it is her wish and belief that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will do everything possible to be able to make sure that she will do everything possible to convince the president for Nnamdi. I am from the Southeast. I know what we have suffered in the past few years over this issue. And this issue of unknown gunmen have practically taken over the whole of the Southeast. The economy of the Southeast is totally on its knees.
Exactly.
Now, totally.
On a Monday.
Southeast, irrespective of whatever it is an economic hub for Nigeria. If you know the level of business that goes on in Aba, in Onitsha, Ninewi, these three places, it goes into billions. But you come to realize that every Monday, people don't come out.
But looking at what Senator Abayi said, he's optimistic. Do you share the
very, I've said that before. Well? Yes, of course I am. Just as BK said, if the person, as they say, there's a say in my place in Igbo, let me just try to interpret it here.
Please do.
They say, when you have a housemaid that came to look after a newborn baby, if the baby died, what would the housemaid do? She will go. And that is exactly what you're saying. To a large extent, most of these people that are perpetrating evil in the Southeast, under the name of Nnamdi Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu has come out to denounce that there's nothing like it at home. Yeah. He came out, and he even wrote it. He said there's nothing like it at home. That people, it started by when he was picked, what they said was that anytime you'll be taken to court, that there should be a state at home. But later they just stopped that. But you now realize that since the Finnish government have picked up Simon Ekpa, the level of insecurity in the Southeast has gone down drastically. I'm telling you that for free. People are going about their businesses on Mondays now. I'm not saying totally.
Yes.
But when you go to a state like Enugu State, you don't even believe there's a Monday. If you go to a state like Enugu State, yes,
the governor of
that
Enugu
is what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to. The governor of Enugu State, what the young man is doing within the past 2 years that has been there is unbelievable. So you see a high level of stability. The guy in the Boy State also, to a large extent, where we're having skirmishes is always Abia, Imo, but most, especially Anambra. Anambra has now become the epic center of unknown gunmen. The rate at which people are being killed in Anambra State, and I continue to wonder what Governor Charles Soludo is doing. Just a few days ago, about 7 people were killed that went for burial ceremony. And it has been that consistently. The Ihiala Aziz within the Anambra State have become a no-go area. So I believe that, one, it's as much as we are propagating that Nnamdi Kanu should be, the leaders of thought in the Southeast also should come together Both the governors and leaders of those also should come out together and practically meet the president now and give him those. It goes beyond just Senator Baribe. Why I say it goes beyond Senator Baribe?
Okay.
Was Senator Baribe was the one that that got Nnamdi bail.
He stood as a guarantor.
It's 100 million naira.
Now he's willing to do it again.
He's willing to do it again. It's got to a point that when Nnamdi escaped, Senator Baribe was picked up. And they insisted that he must get Nnamdi. And he now said that he came out and said, no, that it is no longer a guarantor to Nnamdi. That's what he said. When Nnamdi, but I believe,
he said he's willing
now that he says he's willing, it's not just only him. Every leader of thought, there's a particular man, I think it was Chief Biko, that senior elder statesman in Igbo land has died. No.
Yes. The First Republic.
Okay, First Republic. Okay.
He was that man who said that if there's anything that he want to see before he died, it was Nnamdi Kanu to be, but he's dead now. So I totally agree that the solution to this insecurity in the South is deals with issue of Nnamdi. And once it's released, one of these things will be.
All right, then. All right, let's move straight to our next conversation. For any anti-graft agency, fighting corruption without and within must not just be done, but be seen to be done. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has announced that it has dismissed 27 of its officers last year for misconduct and fraudulent activities. The EFCC also said it is investigating a trending $400,000 claim of a yet-to-be-identified supposed staff of the agency against a sectional head. The spokesman of the EFCC, Dele Oyewale, noted that the dismissals followed recommendations from the EFCC Staff Disciplinary Committee, which were ratified by the chairman, Ola Olukoyede. 27 of its officers, VKO. Now, the EFCC seems to be purging itself, fraudulent elements within its ranks. But first of all, 27. Did this come to you as a surprise?
No, this was what I suggested that the chairman should consider doing. And I remember on this program I said I was confident that if he got the president's approval to purge the EFCC of black legs, that the president will give him that go-ahead. You see, the EFCC itself is a cesspool of corruption. So if it is your duty to go after corrupt people and you have corrupt individuals in ample quantity, you can't do the job. And if you do it, you cannot be successful at it. This EFCC chairman told Nigerians that he was aware that within the ranks of the EFCC, there were people who deliberately compromised investigations of corruption cases.
Yeah,
he said it.
He did.
So, and it was after I said that, I said, look, there's a need for him to purge the EFCC of corrupt individuals. There's no way that they can achieve substantial success if saboteurs are allowed to continue to have a field day in the EFCC. So what are they doing there? That means that they are not good enough for that kind of organization. You can't have people putting their lives at risk, going after corrupt individuals, and there will be people who go to take money from suspects to compromise investigations. So after he said that, it's not as if I didn't know that they had corrupt people. Of course I knew.
Now, out of every 12, there's a Judas,
Oh, I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree. Are you saying that we cannot put 12 incorruptible people in this studio, for example? No. I disagree absolutely that out of every 12, there's a Judas. No. No. The Judases amongst us are actually in the minority.
In the minority.
Many Nigerians will earn their living the right way. Many Nigerians will not succumb to what some people do just to make ends meet. No. There are people today that offer them all the money in the world, they will not take a bribe from you.
Sure, sure.
There are people whose progress, even in the civil service, in the military, have been stunted because they will not compromise. As much as we abuse the police, call their names and all that, there are still people in the police that you cannot bribe. They will not take it. There are still people. We've talked about some of them in the past. And nobody has come out to say, oh, that officer that you said was incorruptible, we actually have evidence that is corrupt. No. Nigerians should stop thinking that, oh, everybody has a price in our country. Because it is not true. It is not true. So, it's not every journalist that collects bribe. It's not every journalist that blackmails people. Some people believe that they cannot make money unless they blackmail people.
Unless, exactly.
There are some of us who would rather invite God to take our lives than blackmail you and ask for money. And it has not stopped us from making progress.
Sure.
So I expect that within the ranks of the EFCC, those individuals who are giving the rest of them a bad name, they should be sent back. In 27 is not enough. The EFCC chairman knows that there are more than
there are more
black legs in the EFCC as we speak. Deliberately, they will compromise investigation, and investigation of a case is like the foundation of the case. If the foundation is faulty, if the structure is faulty, the building will come down.
Sure.
So I commend him for what he has done. But I know that this is something that has to be sustained. You have to continually weed the bad eggs out of the EFCC. The EFCC is too critical to us in the war against indiscipline. I mean, war against corruption, and to allow black eggs in the EFCC to continue. Look at what was discovered, 753 duplexes, one individual.
Exactly.
It is the definition of madness. Pure madness. 24-carat madness. For an individual to, or a few people to
own,
steal so much money and go and build where we are complaining that people have no shelter over their heads. The EFCC has done a good job in exposing such level of stealing, but they have to continue.
They have to do more.
He has to do more. I'm convinced that there are still more people. Many of them will be praying now that it doesn't get to them. Their prayer will not be answered in Jesus' name. Those of them who are corrupt in the EFCC, if they like, let them do fasting, biri fasting. It will come to them, and they should be shown how to.
Now, Sitiked, with the internal cleansing going on in the EFCC, what does this mean for the fight against corruption in Nigeria?
It is good for fights against corruption in Nigeria. There's this Mazin in law. He who must come to equity.
Must come with clean hands. True.
So, EFCC is supposed to be the watchdog of the society, especially when it comes to economic crimes. But it's the fact that some of the officers are very corrupt. If you look at the statement issued by the EFCC, there was a mention of 2 people. There were 27. 25 were for out of fraud and the rest of them. 2 were specifically mentioned. You know their own. They went to demand $1 million from a particular former MD of a parastatal in one of the agencies in Nigeria, retired, using the name of the chairman, that the chairman sent them, so that they can close off this particular case and tidy up this case and the rest of them. So and they believe, for them to have done that, you can imagine how many other people they must have gone to, and they must have obtained. You know, the problem is, and as I say, he who comes to equity comes with hand. If you are not corrupt, how can somebody come and meet you and say, pay me $50,000 for me to kill a case. If I have nothing to hide, I'll say take me to court. That's a fight. And that is where, most often than not, you also say all these Yahoo boys, this internet fraud.
Exactly.
Yes, where somebody will just send you a mail and say, oh, his father has whatever, or you will, blah, 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 that you should send $5,000 and you glitchly send the person $5,000. Somebody you've never met before. Or a woman, one of you woman, and they tell you, I want to marry you, let us let me send $2,000, and somebody will send. If you are not greedy.
Exactly.
So greed. So it's greed.
Well,
so now back to the issue. Now, there's a fundamental issue that I also want to raise. I have it on good authority.
Okay.
That the welfare package of EFCC officers is not top-notch. And I'm saying this on national TV, from my own personal investigation. Because, let me tell you, if you ask somebody to come and go and investigate a fraud of $100 million,
okay,
the temptation for him will be high. I'm not saying that is, I'm not supporting some of their acts.
True.
But we must be able to make sure that there must be somebody of integrity who will look the other way. I don't see why our investigative agencies like EFCC, like ICPC, and even police, that is what we're always talking about police, pay them well. Pay them well and make sure that so that they can be able to do their job. Let me give. So most often than not, they come to realize that yes, some of this package, I don't see why people in EFCC cannot be aimed the same salary with people in NNPC.
Okay.
And NCC and the rest of them.
Just hold,
or CBN.
Just hold that thought. Yeah. We need to take
or DMO.
Or DMO. You know that, yes.
We need to take a break here, gentlemen. Okay. When we return, the conversation continues. Don't go anywhere. Still Journalist Hangout.
Hi, this is Dr. Abiola Salami. 2025 makes it 20 years that I started my career as a performance strategist, serving senior leaders, women in leadership, and emerging leaders. If you want to improve your performance this year, I am inviting you to the Kickoff Summit, where you and your team will get an empirical framework that will give you 3 things. 1, clarity, to determine what exactly you want to achieve. 2, direction, that is your strategy to achieving it. And 3, motivation, for you and your team to take consistent positive action even when the going is tough. You will also get tools for overcoming procrastination, distractions, fear, and scaling hurdles in 2025. We have a lineup of incredible speakers, including Mr. Austin Avuru, Mrs. Kafilat Araoye, Dr. Lanre Lushola, Professor Badari, and Aproko Doctor. They will share insights on leadership, money, health, relationships, and more. VIP delegates will have the opportunity to join us for the kickoff concert featuring Tokwe Alabi, Forever, Ashiri, Damola, Kenne Black, and many award-winning acts. We encourage you to attend with your top-performing team members as well as your strategic leaders. Visit www.kickoffsummit.com for more information.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
All right, if you just joined us, it's still Journalist Hangout. I still have CKN, Chris Kende Wadu, and also BKO right here. So, just as we move on, BKO, looking at the EFCC, what can the EFCC do again, most especially to win public trust and also in the fight against corruption?
It is not... the EFCC cannot singularly win the war against corruption. We have to also look at our laws.
Our laws?
Our laws constitute a slap in the wrist when it comes to dealing with corruption. No matter the level of kleptomania that the government officials demonstrates. Patapata, they will give him 10 years imprisonment. And a lot of them are able to hire very big lawyers who will ensure that they don't go to jail, or even if they go to jail, they get a light sentencing. There have been cases like that, where they just tell the accused person to pay a fine, a very light fine. And he goes straight to the trunk of his car, he brings out the money, he pays the fine, and walks away. There was one of such cases that the Supreme Court eventually redressed. You know, I'm happy. All of these pension thieves, people stealing money meant for pensioners in the police and other places, they need to be dealt with. The law has to be stronger. Why do you think that there is so much trafficking in illicit drugs in our country? Because the punishment is not harsh enough. Some of the people who traffic drugs to Nigeria, they dare not try it in Malaysia. They dare not go to Saudi Arabia to do it. Because they know that they are going to cut their necks. You know, so I think that our attitude to corruption as a country has to change. We need to really come up with laws that do not just criminalize even the criminalize corruption, but laws that prescribe stringent, tough punishments for corruption. And EFCC should continue its advocacy, especially at secondary school level. You know, let's have students set up anti-corruption clubs.
Clubs, exactly.
You know, they should even be incentivized so that at that level they already know that, look, corruption does not pay. But what we have in our country is a situation in which those who are corrupt, we see them, we salute them, we hail them, we see them driving around in vehicles that are above their means, above their pay grade. But instead of asking questions, we hail them. The society, our attitude generally has to change. Let people know that our society frowns at corruption. There should be consequences. We should treat behavior. Anybody who is corrupt, we should treat them like filthy rag, for example, that you don't want to have anything to do with. Not celebrate them. Some people get jailed, they come back home, and you celebrate them. We need to stop that. So that it doesn't look like we are leaving all the fight to the EFCC. The EFCC will play its part, but every Nigerian,
it should be like a collective responsibility.
Yes, our attitude to corruption must change.
BKO talked about our laws. Said perhaps maybe there's some kind of lacuna in a law that allows them, you know, slap in the wrist. What are your thoughts on that? I agree
to the largest extent, but most often than not, I've always said that we have the best of laws at times. Really? Implementation has always been a problem, my personal opinion. I'm not talking just directly about that of the EFCC. But I agree that we should have more stringent laws, not only with the EFCC. If you look at the Road Safety Act and see what people are charged, some people are charged just less than 2,000 naira, 3,000 naira for traffic offense that at times could lead to loss of life. And they go to court and they'll let go. I've seen most of the cases that even EFCC publicized that they won in court. I just see somebody be asked to pay 100,000 naira. And they go and they release them. So I think there should be serious consequences for bad behavior. That is what I feel. People should be, most often than not, there should be a point where we shouldn't be giving the option of bail to certain acts of corruption. Exactly. You can't tell me somebody that stole 130 billion naira will be allowed to go on bail. What is it going? It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. There should not be option.
There should not be option of fine. Yes, no matter how you look at it.
I think bail is at the discretion of the judge, but fine.
Fine, bail is at discretion. But what I'm telling you that there is a level of, you see somebody, it's just like the music. Is it Africa, China? There's somebody that's Baba Blue in those days. You see him his face on crime fighter. I see somebody that's what. But there must be stringent consequences, because those money being stolen supposed to be money that to be used to better the lives of certain Nigerians. Some people are just...
All right, gentlemen. Let's move straight to our next conversation. As more people continue to discuss the merits and demerits of the tax reform bills, it appears a consensus isn't often regarding the testy matter. The governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, said calls by some northern governors for the withdrawal of the tax bills before the National Assembly may no longer be necessary. Governor Sule noted that recent clarifications and assurances from President Bola Tinubu and the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform, Taiwo Idili, over some contentious aspects of the proposed legislations have offered some relief for aggrieved parties. The governor said since some of the grey areas of the bills are being looked into, there is no need to continue to request for their withdrawal. Now, BK, yesterday on the show we talked about the northern elders, calling for more consultation. But this time, the governor of Nasarawa State, who is a northern governor, is kind of showing support for the bill. What are your thoughts here?
I know that they've had a lot of engagement between the time when people like Governor Zulum, Senator representing Borno South, Alim Dume, complained. There have been a lot of engagements. I can tell you that more and more governors are thinking the way Abdullahi Sule is thinking. And the president, during a media chat, said he's prepared to negotiate. That if I have to, I will negotiate, which means that he is not saying, look, the way these bills are, they must sail through. Oh, that the president is a Democrat, that's not what he's saying.
Exactly.
He knows that he has to get the buy-in of lawmakers, for example. All he wants is for us to make our tax administration more efficient. All he wants is for us to have a taxation module that shows a lot of fairness. Because as far as I'm concerned, poor people should not pay so much tax. People should pay based on what they earn. So it means that we need to tax the rich people more and tax the poor a lot less, than we tax the rich. But we also know that a lot of our rich people do not want to pay tax. They would rather bribe tax officials than pay what they actually
need to pay.
So at the time, what caused this whole controversy was the feeling that, the derivation principle will be used in VAT distribution of VAT proceeds. But there has been a lot of clarification that no, this is not the case. Because some of the people came out to complain about these tax reform bills had not even read it. It's such a shame. You find educated people making comments about something that they had not read. And Nigerians are very interesting people. You see some of the opinions that people express on social media. Some will not even bother to read. They are commenting on your post without having read it. Maybe what he's accusing you of, as early as the second paragraph,
you've addressed
that matter had been addressed. But he goes straight to the comment section to talk about something that he had not read. So even our leaders, some of them are like that.
Are guilty of it.
If you come out and say, well, I've not read it, but this is what I had. And somebody said, oh, even the people who trained them in school have also said this is wrong. You should be talking about what you read, your opinion. Give us your opinion about what you read, not what you heard someone say.
Hearsay.
At this level, educated people should strive to read so that they can have their own opinion. Not that you now based your judgment on what somebody else said. Come on. In this age. So, I know even the House of Rep Speaker says, see, we've had a lot of engagements since this whole matter broke. And more governors actually now know that these tax reform bills are not as bad as portrayed. For me, anything that would ensure fairness, let us do it.
Okay.
There is no reason why we should tax the poor at a percentage higher than we tax the rich. No. And that's why I'm happy that they've now said, okay, corporate tax. If your annual earnings is not up to 50 million, nobody will take
exempted
corporate tax from you. So, and that's why I had the governor of Bayelsa say, oh, the reason some of us support this thing is because it is pro-poor. But some governors think that, oh, if they implement this, they will not earn, their states will no longer earn as much as they used to earn. I agree that we have to address concerns of people, the regional concerns and all that, but we must have an equitable and fair taxation administration in our country. And where the taxation bills address the matter of double taxation, we must make sure that it says true. We can't just say withdraw. Because even after the second, and that is what I do not understand with Aliun Dume, you know that even after second reading, they can still tweak a lot of these things. Sure. I still remembered how, like the matter of electronic transmission of results, the kind of debates that they had in the National Assembly. I still remember. So the fact that, okay, they had the second reading does not mean that it will sail through. Even at this stage, they will still have public hearing. Why do we have lawmakers? It's for those gray areas, for them to be able to address those gray areas. You represent your own people. You are not going to sit down and allow something that is inimical to the well-being of your people to sail through.
Not at all.
No. And no president, what his name, will say, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to come up with laws that would divide a country. And isolate the people who voted for you. Some of us just became unnecessarily impatient over this thing. They had not read it, but they had their opinion.
An opinion on it. Sikian, in your opinion, if all the grey areas in this bill are sorted, do you think all of this agitations, this, will stop?
We have to understand that the tax man is nobody's friend.
Yeah, nobody likes the tax man.
All over the world, not Nigeria.
Even in the UK, nobody likes the tax man.
UK, anywhere in the world. If you see some of the complaints that most of our brothers and sisters that japa, most of the complaints that you hear from them is tax. Unlike here, you earn 500K, you keep your money, nobody disturbs you. There you are earning 500K. You'll be sure that about 40%, about 40%,
yes, about
50% of that money.
You know in our country we don't even have energy tax.
Yes.
So in many countries of the world, energy tax is factored into the price of fuel.
I said everything.
And in some cases above 30%.
I said so they are used to here. Okay. They are used to a situation where they don't pay tax, but when you get there, it becomes a problem. So nobody is the tax man's friend. And even in the Bible, one of the people that had issue, I think the one that climbed the tree or whatever, that Jesus came and was people were against it. They said when Jesus went to his house, people are saying, you went to eat in this man's house? Do you know who he is? They say he's a tax collector. So nobody likes. So it has always been that. But what I even
Jesus Christ said,
yes,
give unto Caesar
what belongs. Then what belongs. So that's
taxation.
Exactly.
You know, but what I don't like about is the way we are politicizing it. It now looks like it's a north-south affair. No, it is not. It shouldn't be politicized. It shouldn't be politicized. So the basic fact is that there's going to be a public hearing. Sincerely, if there's any bill that, and there's any executive bill since the inception of this government that I totally support, is this particular one. Is this particular one. Because you have to take your time to go through it. As BQ says, so many of people have not gone through this. Even those in the House of Reps, even those even governors. The governors have time to read 200 and the highest a governor reads is just the summary of whatever they do. They give him summary. He sign off. The highest you can see a governor read.
But for a bill as important,
some of them are watching, they'll say, what's this one?
No, let me
some people read.
Exactly. The governor was here yesterday.
When I say voluminous,
he said he had read it.
He said he read it. He was schooled on it.
He's just one out of so many. Forget it, I'm telling you.
Some of them do.
You see that the appropriation bill that they take to the House of Assembly, they take their time. But when it comes to issues like this, it is always difficult for people to read. Because even the senators they are talking about, some of them have said that they've not read it. There are one of them I saw on this thing that is so vehement about it. He says he has not read it, but what he's saying is that he doesn't believe in this. No, it doesn't work that way.
You know, one of the people who shouted the most about this bill, what he said was, at this stage, Nigerians don't need fresh taxes. He thought it was all about fresh taxes.
Introducing more taxes. That means he didn't read it at all.
We had the same problem during the time of PIA. This same problem. You know how long the PIA stayed in the National Assembly?
Yeah, exactly.
It took close to about 15 years before we could get the present document that we have. But my take on the final take is on this. Whatever tax, the problem you should ask yourself is that why is it that Nigerians kick against tax? It's because of that fact that most of the tax taken away from them, either by their companies or business, they don't see it reflects in their lives.
Okay, they want the tax to work for them.
Let me tell you, yes, why we're talking of UK, US, and the rest of them, where they are willing to pay 30%, 40%, because they know that the infrastructure is not gone.
It's not simply that they are willing to pay.
They are forced
for tax evasion, you will go to jail.
Yes.
Even former presidents, they jail former presidents for evading tax. It's the law. You have to pay. BK, yes, if they have their way, while they will not pay.
Yeah, but BK, what I'm saying...
Because it's a lot of money.
What I'm talking about is that the health system there works. The roads.
So until when people start getting jailed for evading tax...
I'm not even talking about what I'm telling you. Why most people feel, especially Nigerians, say, this issue of tax, we are taxing... The tax must work for them.
Sure.
It's basic infrastructure that they need to see. There was a time that somebody told us, although we've not implemented that, when we remove fuel subsidy, that the money realized from subsidy will be used to fix the road. And they remove it. Was the road fixed? So at a point, we're saying that we're going to return toll gate, although it was not returned, though. They said the money we're going to make from toll gate is going to be used to fix the road. So what I'm saying in essence is that why government is pushing it and have the best of intentions, they must also be willing to be able to make sure that whatever tax they're getting from people get to see what they are being used for, so that there be their willingness to pay.
Now, just like something I asked, I guess yesterday, for some of them that have not read it, do you think if it is translated into...
No, it should be.
It should be.
It should be. That is where the National Orientation Agency...
Even if it's translated,
those who will not read.
But let me tell you, advocacy is key. This is where the National Orientation Agency comes.
Okay, to come in.
Yes, yes. We are so much. When we wanted to change the national anthem back to what we were, That was NOA was everywhere. The National Assembly were everywhere. They were telling people, what is it for us to be nationalism, patriotism, blah, 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 blah. Before you knew, it was changed.
So this is where the NOA needs to come out. Let us see.
Before the NOA do, let us also know whether the federal government is voting money to NOA. I have heard that agency is so starved of
things are changing.
I think so. Looking at some of the things we've been seeing.
Things are changing. Things are changing.
Exactly.
What we can do is encourage government to fund them more. But I can confirm that things are changing. You are now seeing NOA more active than before. Look at the competition they organize for those secondary school students, which is meant to make people believe in the Nigerian dream. You know, the finals took place here. We covered it live. Before now, we were not saying
2 years ago,
nobody was talking about that.
And
now, today, if you are even watching CNN, you will see jingles by NOA.
We are Nigeria.
Yes,
you see all of those jingles now.
NOA had offices in the 774 local governments in Nigeria. So let us use the even the National Assembly. Even the National Assembly, during the public hearing, there is the need for them to be able to galvanize Nigerians and tell them what this bill is all about. So that we don't have it as
I think during the public hearing, many people's eyes will be open. You know? So we don't need to hear from anybody. At least we can watch the public hearing.
Exactly.
People will then make up their minds.
Exactly.
Those who have made a habit of trying to divide us along religious and ethnic lines, their efforts will fail. Because Nigeria is God's project. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Exactly.
Honestly.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much. CKN, Chris Kende.
Before I go, let me say this. I'm more than impressed with what I've seen here.
Thank you.
There's no exaggeration.
Exactly.
I go to TV stations. I review newspaper for about 4 national TV stations. But what we guys are put on here.
What we guys, you are part of the family.
Yeah, we are part of the family. Exactly.
What I'm saying that what we have.
What we guys.
Okay, what we have is so wonderful. And
all right, then. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. DK,
you look good.
Exactly.
You look good.
DK, as always. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout. Hangout on Sunday. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. It's Black Friday. ShopX TV is proud to celebrate this occasion by giving away 10% off to all amazing customers from now till December 15th, 2024. Introducing the ShopX 10-in-1 Air Fryer Oven. The incredible 12-liter oven that offers 75% more space for cooking than traditional air fryers. Stay tuned and learn about the amazing free bonus items included with the CookX Air Fryer Oven. The CookX Air Fryer Oven replaces a deep fryer, a